Hey guys, Lost here, and I actually commentated on how to win the Battle of Antietam while I won the Battle of Antietam, but none of the sound recorded, so I'm just going to have to tell you how to do it from here. Playing as the Confederates, you are at an extreme disadvantage when you play the Battle of Antietam against the Union because you will be extremely outnumbered no matter how you tweak your numbers or how you set things up. So the tactic we'll be using, or one of the things we'll have to pay attention to as we set up our battles, is we're going to simply use a lot of soldiers. So make as many soldiers as you can, but keep a few things in mind. Here we're going to take a look at my setup I have in terms of what units I'm using. I'm going to start off with 3 corps, 2 pretty large ones, and then 1 smaller one to defend the rear, though that is going to be where most of the fighting will take place. In my first corps, I'm going to have about 36 cannons, about 750 cavalry, and the rest will be infantry, and maybe you can throw in 1 unit of skirmishers, though don't worry too much about skirmishers because you can use the units themselves to deploy some skirmishers. Though I would recommend maybe putting 1 unit of skirmishers into each one of your corps, just kind of as a longer ranged engagement tool. Keep in mind, my cavalry, all of my cavalry and every one of my corps will be armed with a rifle and a saber because being able to fight hand-to-hand combat is going to be absolutely necessary when using this tactic. In my second corps, I'll have 2 unit cards of cavalry, each one with about 250 to 400 horses in them. The rest, again, will be made up of about 20 cannons and the rest infantry and maybe a unit card of skirmishers. My third corps has always kind of been just whatever I have left over, but throw in about 10 cannons, 250 cavalry, and the rest infantry, so that it's kind of set up that the first 2 corps make up about 4/5 of your military, and your last corps will be about the final 5th to kind of hang back and defend the rear when the time comes. If you have any money left over, which you likely will, give your soldiers Springfields or Mississippi rifles, just something other than the farmer rifle, because if they just have the standard rifle, they will be at a huge disadvantage. So you're looking at the screen of the setup of where they're going to be coming from. Number your corps 1, 2, 3, right down top to bottom, with the top being 1, the middle being 2, and the bottom one being 3, and now we're ready for the Battle of Antietam. So I skipped the intro scene. We're going to cut it down section by section as the objectives come up. Bunker Hill right there is going to be one of the points we're going to have to hold, and the church as well. Immediately we're going to start shifting around our guys so our artillery will get to the hill as fast as they can. So I'm going to put my artillery up there, push it on pause because we don't have any reason for them to have an advantage on us while we set up our troops. Immediately start putting your guys up in the defensive positions by the shields. If you have any of the troops in the back that are still being unused, convert them to skirmishers. It will send out a little portion of them that you will be able to use to harass the enemy from the side, which will be crucial to the tactic which we use most of the time. For the most part, the guys that you send up to the shields in the center will hold that part for a majority of the time if you do it right. Later in the battle, my guys will actually fall back and they will be close to losing the hill, but sometimes the AI just does different things than you expect. But either way, we still managed to pull off this tactic and we won Antietam in the end. Hopefully by the time that the Union starts to push up on you, you'll have your artillery set up on Bunker Hill so they can start firing on your left flank. While your cavalry is still being set up, you'll want to put in 1 unit as well as skirmishers from that unit up in that little tree line in that little patch that is currently being engaged, because that will snag up the Union and give your cannons some time to lay down some fire. It will also kind of just keep them back and keep them distracted from advancing up on that hill, because if they really wanted to at this point in the battle, they could charge your hill quite easily. However, to prevent that, this is where the cavalry comes in. You'll want to keep your cavalry, or 2 units at the time, held back but kind of on the fringes of battle so that if any of your units get charged, you can get in there with your cavalry and rout them immediately. This is really going to be the general tactic throughout all of the Battle of Antietam. You want to pull skirmishers from most of your larger infantry units to harass them from the sides and kind of direct them away, focus their fire away from your center lines, while keeping cavalry behind your center lines so that if they get charged, you can rout them and dealing them lots of damage. That is going to play extremely crucial throughout every part of the battle. Surviving that first wave is the easy part. It's the second wave which becomes extremely important, where you have to make some quick decisions extremely fast. This is where your second wave comes in. You'll have a lot of troops and you'll want to push them all forward to fill in the gaps that are still being left open by your other troops as fast as you can. You'll also want to begin pulling your troops off of Bunker Hill because you no longer need to hold that position. It will just be a waste of troops to try to hold that area. All you have to do is contain them in the pockets where they are and prevent them from pushing up. During this time, the completely untalked about and undefended right flank of yours will be completely and utterly assaulted by a mass of Union soldiers. This is where you'll have to rush up your second wave to fill in the gaps and begin setting up a line in an attempt to prevent them from breaking through. So after you put some guys up in the woods, kind of on the right side of your main center line, you'll want to detach some skirmishers from your main troops, send them off to the right side, and begin distracting them from trying to push up that advance. If you simply put a lot of soldiers out on the open side of that hill in order to push them away, they'll get shot down by a superior enemy force. So you keep some soldiers back enough so that the enemy can't advance, but don't advance so much to where you can die, because like I said, the goal before is containment. If they're not pushing up or doing anything super crazy and they're just sitting back there minding their own business, just leave them where they're at. But set up a defensive position so that if they do advance, you can hopefully rout them and prevent them from getting any farther. If you keep that steady center line and keep them all well supplied with ammunition, then you should have enough guys to deal with the final wave that comes in from the back, and that is definitely the hardest part. Now, for the final assault in the third stage of this battle, you will be vastly outnumbered. However, you will not have to hold Stone Bridge. The objective really is simply to stall them. Otherwise, you'll have to hold Sharpsburg, Dunker Church, and Sunken Road. As I'm doing right here, toss 2 units kind of out to the side while sending the third one really off up front to the bridge, or you can send them behind like I'm doing, just in an effort to split up their forces and stall them. For the most part, when it comes to defending Sharpsburg, you will have a fairly okay time defending it since the city offers a lot of protection. Leave the general in the city and take some of the units that you aren't sending up there immediately to the bridge, send them back and get them up to Sunken Road, because that is going to be one of the main centerpieces of the defense. At this time, it would help to bring back some of your soldiers off of kind of the front lines of where you're fighting. Those guys should hopefully stay where they're at, though they will probably push up to Sunken Road in a little bit once the other Union forces flank from the east. Bring some of the forces up that you haven't been using and focus your fire on the east flank with your artillery. Continue to harass them bit by bit with some of your skirmishers. Throw up the soldiers where they need to be in case some of your lines break. Even my center will break here in a little bit, but with my remaining forces in the woods, they stand out against the enemy. See how I am bringing my forces kind of back? I'm getting them in a crossfire almost with my center line at the fence while hitting them from the northern side, and I have some forces down kind of by the southwestern side of the battle. Hopefully at this point you have grounded them away by staying in your defensive positions. You should still have your cavalry running around the battlefield and engaging when necessary. So bring back any forces. As you can see, my western side is only almost completely devoid of anybody else back where Dunker Hill was, because I've managed to swing them all around and focus on the Sunken Road. Chances are by the end of the battle it will be extremely close. I've never played a battle where this one was not really down to the wire and to the end. So by sticking to the woods and using my cavalry to push back any charges and using my skirmishes to fight them on the sides, I managed to pull off a victory at Antietam, and I clicked on that finish button about as fast as you could. If you do it correctly, you should give them a lot of casualties. Of course, you will sustain a lot of casualties yourself, but you will do a ton of damage. As you can see, I lost 30,000 and they lost 48,000 despite them having almost twice as many soldiers as I did. So we are getting to the end here. Let me know if this video helped at all. Let me know if I could have been maybe more specific, if this game is even worth playing or showing on YouTube. If it doesn't do well, I will likely take it down and continue putting my efforts elsewhere. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys later.